Thank you for watching this communication about your record keeping in the CoachCare app, HMR's replacement for the original HMR app, which so many of us loved. Let's just get one thing out right up front here, and I know you know this, but it bears repeating. Record keeping is an incredibly important part of our work to manage weight, period. I'm making this obvious point because this whole conversation rests on that foundation. We've got to figure out what's going to work best for us for record keeping, each of us. Okay, so there have been many changes at HMR, we all know that, but you've heard me and Bill say this many times. We have close friends at HMR, and they are really trying hard. But it's just a very tough row to hoe. They're navigating through so many changes, so we really appreciate any grace that you can continue to extend to them, and so many of you have been great on this. Though I will say some of your responses to people who are complaining about HMR, well, those responses are a little bit pointed, but just between us, sometimes people need just a little bit of direct communication like that, so we approve. Having said that, the decision to close down the record-keeping app that many of us were using was a tough one. And we're now faced with the decision. How are we going to track our progress on the healthy behaviors that we all need to keep up for our weight management and for managing our health? It literally boils down to that. Without record keeping, we're simply inviting in Little Debbie disasters, and you all know what I mean by that, and trips to Storyland, and you all know what I mean by that as well. So, HMR has introduced an alternative app, the CoachCare app, and here's the bottom line. In our enthusiasm to find a replacement for the original app, we jumped on this too soon, period. That's just the truth. We made the assumption incorrectly, and many of you took our lead, that something was better than creating our own system. This has turned out to not be the case, because while HMR is working with the developers of this app to make it easier to track our weekly numbers, it's not there yet. You know that. And we can't wait for this app to be ready for prime time. We need a system, and we need it now, however manual it may end up being, so that you don't miss a beat in terms of this absolutely essential daily accountability, your records. And I will just say here that we regret not thinking through this a bit more than we did. It's a little galling, in fact, for some of us, because one of our fundamental principles through the years at HMR was, and Larry's going to love this when he watches this video, front-end loading before we make decisions. As Larry would always say, make sure you're looking at all 6 sides of the cube before you make a decision. All 6 sides. Don't let your thinking become siloed. Abe Lincoln said it differently. Give me 6 hours to chop down a tree, and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. And then there's the old proverb, in which said it even more succinctly, measure twice, cut once. They all express the same sentiment. Unfortunately, we didn't do that. And I think many of us have been frustrated by the experience and the inefficiency of trying to track in the CoachCare app only to have to go through the week manually to add up our weekly numbers, and that's just one issue. And we are now recommending officially that we back away from this app for the time being. Just to quote Larry one more time, and how many times do we hear this through the years at HMR? I'm allergic to inefficiency. And I think we should all aspire to develop that allergy. We don't need to add to the work that we already need to do for our weight management. So, how will you keep records? Well, you've got to figure it out. Some of us go way back and have a lot of experience with the old paper and pen system. You know, right before I originally switched to the HMR app for tracking my progress, I piled up my 25 years of my own paper and pen record keeping. And now, here I am, and I'm doing it again. And you know, for a reasonable fee, I'll train you to also track your behaviors in my ultra-advanced, super sophisticated system. Not really. But seriously, what method will you use? Can you find a notebook or a paper system that really works for you? Are you a fan of the small, the portable, the convenient? Pull it out, write it down quickly, put it back in your pocket. Or are you more of the ceremonial type with your fancy moleskin-bound book? Everyone, I'm going to chronicle my shake in this delightfully compound compendium, and I haven't even opened it yet. Look, you need to decide what's going to work for you. Look at this one. This was on my shelf for months. It comes in its own box. My gosh, how fancy schmancy is that? Probably not the most convenient thing in the world. And then, while we joke about being allergic to inefficiency, I will say I'm actually allergic to spiral-bound notebooks of any kind. But, that's just me. As you're tracking things, that's one thing throughout the day. Then, how are you going to see your week at a glance? It's a good question. We strongly recommend you be able to do that. What form is your preference on this? Do you like the HMR Weekly Summary that we've sent around? We've sent one for Phase 1 and Phase 2. It's very nicely designed. I remember originally designing it with the team, and it's very quick to fill out. Or do you prefer seeing even more of the big picture at once? Barbara quickly designed this form for Donna, and I like it. 4 weeks at a glance. In fact, you know what? This makes me think of the earlier versions of our record-keeping sheets at HMR, going way back. I asked our official HMR archivist through the years, our friend John. Here he is with Bill, and then here he is with me. And some of those earlier forms were, in fact, also 4 weeks at a glance. Great minds think alike, Barbara. I only regret that we couldn't find the original form from the 80s, really far back, which actually had 9 weeks at a glance. Talk about seeing trends over time. I'm kind of wondering if anyone watching this goes back that far to our original permanent calorie record, all 9 weeks, otherwise known as the PCR. And if you do go back that far, are you sure you want to admit that? So, you decide what's going to work best for you. And moving forward, at least for now, we are going to continue to ask you to submit your numbers to us in the manner that we have been doing it. We'll send you the weekly invitation to your coaching session, and in that, you will see the link to submit your data for the week, either if you're in Phase 1 or Phase 2. Admittedly, it is an extra step for you, but let's be honest, it's very quick, and it does work. And then we will see where the CoachCare app takes us, where it lands, and we will keep you apprised as things change every step along the way, so stay tuned for that. And I'll just end here by saying thank you to all of you. And Bill and I really, really mean it. We all know that this situation is far from ideal, but we can honestly say that we feel like we've been going through it together, all of us. And we have the confidence that we can continue to work together through issues like this, because they will come up from time to time, but again, work through them together. That's teamwork. So thanks for that. And thanks for taking the time to watch this video.